Welcome to this new deep dive. You know that feeling when you meet someone and there's just something there? An unspoken pull, maybe? A sense that something significant is kind of brewing beneath the surface long before anyone actually says, I think I like you.
Yeah, it's like you're tuning to a frequency that isn't quite audible yet.
Exactly. And if you've ever wondered if that initial intensity is, well, real or maybe just your imagination running wild, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to explore that silent language, the language of the unconscious that speaks volumes when love first starts to stir.
Right. Because, in our everyday lives, we tend to focus on the obvious stuff. The words, the deliberate actions, the clear I like yous.
The concrete things.
But what's really fascinating, I think, is what happens beneath all that. In that invisible space before love is even a conscious thought.
Okay.
There's a whole world of unconscious dynamics already shaping who we're drawn to. And understanding this can give us some, pretty profound insights.
Absolutely. And our goal today isn't just to point out these subtle cues, though we'll do that. It's more about helping you understand the psychology driving these attractions. And maybe more importantly, figuring out how to distinguish between a connection that has, genuine potential and one that might be more about our own internal stuff, our projections.
That's a crucial distinction.
So yeah, prepare to look at connection maybe in a whole new light, to get more attuned to those whispers of the soul, perhaps.
I like that. Whispers of the soul.
We're going to try and unravel some of that secret code that operates in those very early moments, long before affection is out in the open.
Right.
If you've ever felt there's more to that initial spark than meets the eye, you're about to discover some powerful insights. Because often the deepest truths aren't in what's said.
They're in what's felt, what's sensed.
Exactly. So we're diving into 5 key invisible signals. These reveal the very beginnings of love and the unconscious dynamics your body often registers way before your mind catches up.
Okay, let's get into it. Our first invisible signal, those subtle nonverbal cues and the often overlooked language of unconscious body language.
Right, the subtle stuff.
It's really remarkable how the first hints of attraction can show up in these delicate ways, especially around someone who, intrigues us.
Like what kind of things?
Well, think about those really quick micro expressions, gone in a flash, or the way someone's gaze might hold yours just a little bit longer than usual.
Okay, yeah. Or even silences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those shared silences that suddenly feel, charged with meaning. It's a dialogue without words, and it's so subtle it can easily slip past our conscious awareness.
But our gut feeling.
Exactly. Your intuition, that gut feeling, is often picking up on these signals long before your logical brain really pieces it together.
It's so true. You ever get that instant read on someone? A really strong feeling, but you can't quite pin down why.
All the time.
That's probably your body interpreting these unconscious cues, right?
Very likely. And when we talk about unconscious body language, it really does speak volumes.
Like leaning in.
Yeah, notice someone leaning in slightly when you're talking. It might be almost imperceptible, but it's a movement towards you.
Oh.
Or mirroring, that's a big one. Someone unconsciously adopting your gestures, your posture.
Right, like they sync up with you without thinking.
Precisely. That mirroring often signals a deep level of unconscious connection. Or even something simple, like just an open, relaxed posture when they're around you.
And the key is that it's unconscious, right?
That's the crucial part. These actions aren't usually deliberate. They often betray genuine feelings because they bypass conscious control.
So here's something for you listening. Are you learning to pay attention not just to the words, but to what someone's body might be, whispering, especially when they aren't actively trying to impress you?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us nicely into our second invisible sign, the really powerful phenomenon of the other person acting as a mirror. And the complex dance of projection and shadow.
Okay, projection. This comes from Jung, right?
It does, drawing from Carl Jung's work. That intense initial attraction we feel, or maybe perceive someone feeling for us, is very often a projection.
What does that mean exactly? Projection.
Well, it means our perception isn't purely based on who the other person actually is in their whole complexity.
Yeah.
Instead, we might be unconsciously projecting our own internal stuff onto them.
Like our own emotions. Or hopes.
Yeah, emotions, longings we haven't maybe fully owned, or even parts of ourselves that we've sort of pushed away, repressed, aspects we haven't integrated.
So the other person becomes like a scream.
In a way, yes. A potent, revealing mirror for us.
It's like their presence, how they act, their mannerisms, maybe even things they say offhand, start to reflect something back to us that just resonates really deeply.
Exactly. It could be an ideal we admire, an aspiration we haven't acted on, or even just a sense of, I don't know, fulfillment or wholeness we didn't consciously realize we were missing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And have you ever stopped to think that you yourself might be acting as that kind of profound, maybe even transformative mirror for someone else?
That's definitely worth considering. And, where there's projection, where there's light, there's also shadow.
The shadow, the hidden parts.
The parts of ourselves and others that we might consciously or unconsciously try to avoid or keep hidden. And what's really interesting here is that our shadow aspects often play a big role in our most intense initial connections.
Okay, how so?
Well, it can help explain why some connections feel so intensely magnetic, almost overpowering, sometimes even volatile or unpredictable.
Right, that confusing intensity.
Part of that heightened feeling can come from mutual projection. Both people are unconsciously using the other as a sort of screen for their own unacknowledged inner landscapes.
So the big question then is, how do we tell the difference? How can we begin to differentiate between that powerful magnetic pull that might signal, real love starting versus the sometimes confusing, maybe turbulent interplay of our shadows getting triggered?
That is the crucial question, isn't it?
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads us right into our third invisible sign. The often, I think, underestimated power of just authenticity and genuine presence.
Mm-hmm.
In this subtle world of unspoken connection, the key isn't about playing games or strategizing or trying to be someone you're not to win someone over.
No, it's much simpler and harder.
Right. It comes down to just being yourself, an authentic person, someone who is genuinely grounded in their own truth without faking it, without needing masks all the time. They become an incredibly powerful mirror, like we just discussed.
They do. And while that kind of genuine presence might, understandably, make some people uncomfortable, maybe those not ready to face their own truths,
Yeah, it can be confronting.
it often has this deep, undeniable magnetism for others, for those who are ready, perhaps.
So your authentic presence, that feeling of being aligned inside, it connects with parts of the other person.
Exactly. Parts they might have disconnected from, maybe old emotional wounds they've tried to bury, or long forgotten desires or dreams they once had but kind of put on the shelf.
And that emotional stirring they might feel around you, that spark, it's not because you're trying to make them feel it.
Not at all. It's not about conscious effort to please or manipulate. It arises much more organically from the silent, compelling force of you simply embodying your own truth.
So when a feeling is really genuine, it shows up as transparency.
Often, yes. There's no need for elaborate facades or carefully built personas. There's just a pure desire to be present, to share your authentic self, warts and all, without those protective masks.
And that authenticity resonates like an emotional frequency.
That's a good way to put it. An emotional frequency that's very hard to ignore.
It really does feel like a beacon sometimes. So here's a thought for you listening, something to mull over. Do you dare to fully inhabit your own truth, including those shadow aspects we mentioned? Because it's often right there in that radical self-acceptance, embracing all of who you are, that your greatest power to truly connect genuinely with others actually lies.
Well said. And that brings us to our fourth invisible sign, which highlights the profound significance of shared vulnerability and the very beginnings of trust.
Vulnerability, that feels huge.
It is. When someone feels safe enough around you to be genuinely vulnerable, when they share fears or insecurities or doubts they'd normally keep hidden, that's a deeply meaningful act.
It really is, like they're letting you see behind the curtains.
They are. They're lowering their protective ego defenses, essentially. And even more significantly, they're starting to extend this fragile tendril of trust towards you.
Even small things count here, right?
Absolutely. Even seemingly small cues, like a moment of obvious nervousness when they're talking about something personal, or a fleeting look of doubt, or simply asking for your sincere advice on something close to their heart.
Those can be really clear signs that a real connection is starting to form.
Unmistakable indicators, I'd say.
It's like they're offering you this precious glimpse behind the carefully constructed front we often put up for the world.
Right. And true love, the kind that really takes root and lasts, often reveals itself through this willingness to be vulnerable, through the courage, really, to show a more human, less perfect side.
Yeah. Have you ever truly recognized the immense gift it is when someone chooses to lower their guard with you like that?
It's easy to miss its significance sometimes.
It really is. But it's such a powerful testament to that growing trust and the dawn of something truly authentic.
And finally, our fifth invisible sign. This is the transformative effect that your very presence can have on another person. It can trigger an often unconscious drive and impetus for mutual growth and healing.
Okay, so just by being you authentically.
Exactly. When you stay true to yourself, when you embrace both your strengths and your vulnerabilities, your light and shadow, as we've said, it can create this silent but powerful ripple effect. It can foster transformation in those around you.
So in the other person, this might spark a desire, a deep, maybe subconscious desire.
Yes, a desire to evolve, maybe to shed old patterns that aren't serving them and to become a more authentic, whole version of themselves.
And again, this isn't about you trying to change them or putting pressure on them.
No, definitely not. It's the natural inspiration they draw simply from witnessing and experiencing your genuine being, your groundedness.
It's like your authenticity acts as a kind of catalyst for their own inner unfolding.
That's a great way to put it, catalyst. Authentic connection fundamentally shifts how we see each other, too.
So.
The other person starts to see you not just as, a fleeting encounter or someone superficial,
Right.
but as a living reflection of their own untapped potential for growth and healing. Your mere presence, when it's rooted in authenticity, can actually start a profound healing process within them.
Wow. That's an incredibly powerful dynamic.
It truly is a remarkable phenomenon. They aren't falling for some idealized, perfect image you're projecting or that they're projecting onto you.
They're drawn deeper.
Yes, they're drawn to you on a deeper level because your authenticity resonates with maybe forgotten parts of themselves, and it ignites their own innate drive for self-discovery, for transformation.
So in its essence, true love is, it's fundamentally emotional alchemy, a shared journey.
A shared and often unconscious journey of mutual becoming. Yes, emotional alchemy is a beautiful way to describe it.
So the final reflection for you listening is this. Are you ready to recognize and maybe even embrace this subtle yet profound alchemy at play in your own life and within the connections you're forming? So just to bring it all together then, we've explored these 5 fascinating ways that love subtly begins to emerge in the unconscious.
Right. Through those nuanced nonverbal cues.
The dynamic of the other person as a mirror.
The magnetic power of authenticity.
That significant act of sharing vulnerability.
And that inspiring impetus for mutual growth and healing.
And remember, perhaps the most reliable sign, the most powerful indicator you can really pay attention to, isn't necessarily getting some external validation.
It's more internal.
It's your own internal sense of coherence, your ability to see and feel with an open heart. Authentic connection, it sort of breathes transparency and truth, doesn't it? Without needing pretense or manipulation.
Right. It doesn't just suddenly erupt. It tends to gently and organically filter in.
So by cultivating the ability to listen with your whole being, your skin even, as some say, to really look beyond the surface interactions.
Beyond the masks.
And to recognize that intricate, often invisible dance of the unconscious, you can gain a deeper understanding of when you are truly ready for a sacred connection.
One built on mutual recognition, genuine support, and that potential for profound transformation we talked about.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope this exploration has given you maybe a new lens, a new way to view and understand the subtle beginnings of love.
And we encourage you to subscribe to the channel, Jung and You Psychology for Change, to stay connected and join us for more explorations like this in the future.
See you in the next episode.